dedicated to your elder care concerns and your resource for learning about how to manage your health, housing,
All right,
financial,
we're
and
live,
legal
so
needs. This is a live
we're fixing to
call-in
go.
program featuring John Ross and Lisa Schulmeyer,
Hope
elder
everybody's
law
having a great
attorneys
day
and
today.
senior advocates for the Art Latex. Aging Insight is dedicated to helping you navigate the challenges and blessing of growing older. So call in and ask your questions. The number is
sitting alone today in here, so could be an interesting day.
Now here are your hosts,
if you have any questions,
John
let me know.
Ross and Lisa Schulmeyer.
Hello and good morning from Texarkana, Texas. This is Ben King on Aging Insight Radio. We're here in the studio today. It is only going to be me today, so you're going to be hopefully entertained, and we have a great topic to talk about today. Should be very interesting, very entertaining. We're going to talk a little bit about your inheritance. How much money have you saved up? What have you worked hard for over the years? And what do you intend to do with your inheritance when you pass away? But first, I want to make sure that we give a good shout out to our sponsors today. We appreciate everything that they do for us to help us be on the air every Saturday. We have Hospice of Texarkana, Dirksen Memorial Hospice, Edgewood Manor Nursing and Rehab Center, the Barnett Agency, Calhorn Creek Estates, Texarkana Funeral Home, Red River Credit Union, Reunion Plaza Senior Care and Rehabilitation Center, and Heritage Plaza Nursing Center. Thank you guys for all of your support, helping keep us on the air and bring great information to all of our listeners out there on the radio and Radio Land, so that hopefully we can educate them as they plan for their needs moving forward, as they think about what they need to do for their family members and how they need to plan for their future health care and other issues along those lines. We really do appreciate those guys. If you have an opportunity to help them, if you ever need their services or have any questions, please reach out to those folks. Express your appreciation for their sponsorship of the show, and hopefully they'll be able to help you out as well. So, like I said, today we're going to get into our inheritance, hopefully the inheritance that we have and that we are able to leave to our children or whatever other beneficiaries we may have moving forward in the future. And the reason we want to talk about this topic today, it's been a new year, obviously. We're here in wrapping up just yesterday. We wrapped up the first month of the year, January, obviously. And we've had so many people come in and talk to us this month about their plans for the future, maybe talking about their parents' plans or family members in conversations with us as they're there to plan their own estates and try to figure out what they need to do for their family members who may be unfortunately needing to receive some type of assisted living or long-term care. And, we've had so many folks, it has seemed like a long month. I don't know if anybody else out there thinks that January has been pretty long, but it has indeed been it seems like just a strangely long month. But we have finished it up now. We were able to talk to so many people and to help so many people out with their needs. And if we weren't able to help them out with our services, we were at least able to give them some information to help them move forward with their plans. And one thing that we have in the month of January, early on in the year, is that a lot of folks have gone home over the holidays. They went to see their family at Thanksgiving. They went to see their family at Christmas. And while they're there, when they go to their mom's house or their grandparents' house to get together, they notice that maybe mom and dad are slipping just a little bit. Maybe grandma, grandpa aren't quite as sharp as they used to be. Mentally, maybe physically, they're beginning to have some problems getting around. And it becomes evident at that point in time that maybe they do need a little bit of assistance. Maybe they're going to need maybe they're going to need some type of assisted living. Maybe they're going to need some type of long-term care, whatever it may be that they think they need. It has now become apparent. And a lot of times those folks come in and they want to talk about their parents, what they can do. A lot of times they're just trying to get information on the front end that they can relay to their parents without them having to come in. Or, a lot of times they bring their parents in with them to talk through these things, or encourage their parents, their grandparents, to come in themselves. And that's been so many folks that we have had come in, folks that said, you know what, my kids have been trying to push me to do this for so long. I know it's something that I need to do. I've just been putting it off and putting it off, but I think it's time for me to finally come in and talk about my future. And, honestly, that's a tough conversation for us to have. I know for myself, I don't really like to think about the fact that one day I may need to be in an assisted living facility. I may need some type of long-term care. It's never a great thing to have to think about. But we do want to make sure that we are planning for our future, our own future, to make sure that we have what we need moving forward, that our healthcare needs are going to be met, that we have a great quality of life when we as we get older, that we're able to do the things that we want to do, the things that maybe we've been putting off, but we want to enjoy life. That's just a natural thing, that everybody has. Nobody wants to be miserable in life or not have fun. So we need to begin planning for those things. How do you ensure that your healthcare needs will be taken care of? How do you ensure that you get to live that quality of life that you want to as you get older? It's one thing I think about as we're here in the year 2020 now, kind of think about 2020 vision. And that's what we want. We want some clarity for our future. So as we're in the year 2020, it's time to focus on getting some 2020 clarity, 2020 vision. Think ahead about, am I going to need some type of long-term care? And if I am, how am I going to pay for it? Long-term care isn't cheap. There is a whole lot of resources that are going to have to be put into your long-term care. And it's just not cheap to be able to provide that. You're looking at a significant sum of money. And there are 3 ways to pay for your long-term care. You can private pay for it. You can pay for it if you have long-term care insurance. That'll help pick it up. Or you can try to receive government assistance through the Medicaid program. And Medicaid can help you pay for your long-term care or assisted living care. So those are the things that we need to plan ahead for. If I intend to private pay for it, am I going to be able to do so? Do I have enough money set aside to be able to pay for my own long-term care to ensure that I'm getting the care that I need? Am I able to bring in someone with assisted living? Am I able to bring in caregivers to my house? How much money do I have for that? How much money do I need for that? If I am going to seek Medicaid, what plan do I have in place if I need to try to qualify for Medicaid? Do I need to go ahead and start trying to make plans to do that now? Do I need to just wait and put that off? What needs to be done? And those are the questions that I answer every day. John, Lisa, Alex, and our offices here in Texarkana, all 4 of us, we deal with those types of questions every single day, multiple times during the day. So it's a big concern that people have. And then the other concern that people often have is not only how am I going to take care of myself, but what about how my assets are going to be distributed when I pass away? Unfortunately, that's the reality that we all have to deal with, that none of us really like to deal with, is that one day we're not going to be here. And I know I certainly don't like to think about that. One day maybe our spouse is not going to be here. So what do we need to do to plan for that, to plan for how are my benefit, or the resources, the assets that I had worked so hard for over the years, how are those things going to be distributed upon my passing? And like I said, that's not something people like to talk about, but it is a necessity. I often say it's never too late to start planning for your retirement or planning for your future or your estate until it's too late. Now, never too late to plan until it's too late. And unfortunately, we don't know when that too late period is going to be. It could be tomorrow. It could be 5 years down the road. Heck, it could be 20 years down the road. But is there anything we need to do now as we begin preparing for that? So many people come in. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. But we're able to sit down with them. We explain the process to them of what needs to happen, how we need to go about helping them develop a plan, and figure out what are your goals. What do you really want when you're alive, most importantly, but also when you pass away? You know, I tell people the most important part of this is when you're alive. Right now, what do you want today while you are alive? What do you want between today and the time you pass? What type of life do you want to live? What are your goals? And as we talk through those things, people often say, I am so relieved now. I've been so worried about this. I've been putting it off, but I'm so relieved now to be able to have a plan to achieve these goals that I've been wanting to achieve. And in part of that, maybe you've already done some estate planning. Maybe you've already taken care of those things, but how long ago was it when you did that? Has it been a while? And if it has been, you need to consider reviewing what you have in place. You know, certainly over a period of time, life changes. Kids get older, maybe beneficiaries that you had in mind, your children or other beneficiaries, maybe they've passed away. Maybe your charitable organizations you like to support, maybe your focus has changed over time. Your assets may have changed. You may now have a lot more in assets. You may have different type of assets. Maybe you've been able to come into some funds. You've been able to purchase rental properties, or your IRA or other retirement accounts have significantly increased. There are so many things that we need to take into account, or that you need to take into account, that we can help you plan for as to what you're going to do to make sure that you are able to achieve your goals while you are alive. And also, how do you want those things to be distributed upon your passing? We want to make sure that you have clarity in that you have clarity of the path that you need to begin taking to achieve those goals, and make sure that your plan is in place, that the things that you want to have done are done exactly the way that you want to have them done. So when we come back on the next side of our break, we're going to talk about what goals might you have. How do you plan for those? What things you need to be thinking about, and specifically, what can we do to help you out? What can you do to help you out? And then what if other folks, you know, maybe your beneficiaries don't like your goals? So come back. We'll be right back.
And the microphone is on.
All right. Whew. So there we go. That was segment number 1. I don't know about you guys, but when you do this by yourself, that seemed like a long 14 minutes. But, you know, we've talked about what do we want to do? You know, there are, like I just said on the radio, and we've talked about it before, you know, you're lost. You really don't know how to get to where you want to be. You don't know what your goals are. So how do you get there? And, you know, it's not easy. I used to do, I don't know if everybody out there knows, but I used to be a personal injury attorney. And when I was first doing that, I created my own estate planning documents. I created a will, and wanted to make sure that things passed a certain way. I had young kids. I've got a beautiful wife. I want to make sure that, you know, is everything going to pass the way I want it to? What do I need to do? And, you know, the problem with it was, you know, I was a personal injury attorney, and I was fresh out of law school. I thought I knew a lot about it, and I knew a little bit. I mean, that's what you learn in law school. You learn a little bit about this, you learn a little bit about that. So I knew enough, and I might have known just enough to be dangerous. I don't know. But so I put together my own estate planning documents. And, a lot of folks can go to any attorney you want to and try to get those documents done, but you're not always going to be able to achieve exactly what you want. And maybe you ultimately are able to do that, but you didn't necessarily choose the most efficient path to get there. And that's one thing that I had when I put my documents together. I think I got pretty close to what I wanted to achieve, but I didn't get there in the most efficient way possible. So those are things that we always need to think about, that we need to consider, how we're going to get there. And it really is such a relief when people come in. You can just see the relief in their faces of, you know what, this has been something I've been dreading to do, but I'm so glad I finally came in. Now I've got an idea of what I want to do. I've clarified my future. I've clarified how I'm going to get to my goals. So, but later on, we're going to be talking about what goals you might have, how you're going to go about achieving some of those things. We've got let's see here in segment number 2. I don't know how long we've got. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to get into some of that stuff, and we'll figure out what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what your goals might be. How long do we have?
Turn my mic on. Turn my mic on, and I'll be your dummy.
Oh, okay. There you go. I've got help in here today in the background. You're on Facebook Live right now.
I know.
Okay. You don't have to. You can scoot back over to the side if you want to. So I'm in here. I've never operated the radio board and everything by myself, so I got some folks here. Dawn, who's here with me.
Turn the right mic on.
I think we're about to get started again.
Yep, it's time.
Let's
turn your mic on.
Let's get ready. All right, we're back live in the studio with Aging Insight Radio. Sorry for that little break. I wasn't paying enough attention to the board. It kind of caught me off guard that we were back on the radio. So I appreciate everybody tolerating a little bit of my own ignorance as to how to operate the board. But we're back now. I appreciate everybody coming back.
You're doing a really good job.
Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate that. It's been that was a long 14 minutes, that first segment. So in the first segment, we were talking about getting your estate plan in place, making sure you're able to achieve those goals, and what are we going to do? So what?
Well, we're already working on kids and grandkids. You've got a pretty good list here. Travel, leaving behind assets for your family when you pass away. Do you want to help the community? And what do you think about paying for kids and grandkids for? We're sort of already doing that. So my husband and I are already in that phase. We're already working on community stuff, working on kids and grandkids. But I want to travel more. So that's not one of those things that you really think I should set aside money for until you want to do it. And then you think, uh-oh.
Yeah. I've worked hard my entire life. I've tried to set aside all this money. I certainly want to take care of my kiddos, but I want to enjoy life.
Right. You're at that phase where you've done all the things, and now you want to enjoy all of the hard work that you've done. So how do you plan for your future and what is coming up, like you said in the first segment, that is going to happen? It's it's inevitable. That part of our life is going to happen. But how do you also enjoy that mid phase before you get to that last phase?
You bet. And I've often said, I heard it said one time, so I repeated it. These aren't my wise words that I came up with. But you spend all of your health trying to make money,
mm-hmm.
and then you spend all of your money trying to preserve your health.
Right.
So, I mean, it's, we don't want it to be that way. We want to, if we have spent so much of our health trying to make money, well, now we want to spend our money on us and what health we have left, what life we have left to make sure that we are living our best life that we want to, that we're able to have fun, enjoy ourselves. Your spouse and you have put in so much effort, and let's enjoy life together. Our
right.
Kids are gone. We don't have to worry about them anymore. They're on their own now.
Well, we have a junior. We're almost there.
Yeah.
She's got 2 more years.
I've got a 13, 10, and 9-year-old. I got a long way to go. But and even now, I want to be able to enjoy life with my spouse, with my kids. And when they are finally out, when they go, hopefully, to Texas A&M, which they may not, I don't know. But I want to be able to help them pay for that. I don't want them to be burdened with a lot of student debt. But
I think that's one of the best things of planning you want to do for your kids is we've worked really hard to make sure that our kids, we've had one at TCU, we've got one in the military, we've got 2 at TCU right now, and then we have a junior. So 5 kids. We've worked really hard to make sure they don't start their life in debt.
Yeah, and that's a great, admirable goal to have. And maybe a lot of our listeners out there have started life in debt. They started out the hard way. I know my dad, when he got out of A&M, unfortunately, his dad passed away shortly after he got out of A&M. And he started out life paying for a funeral for his father.
Which is expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive. And so when you start off in debt with something like that, that's just a tough way to begin, but he's worked hard and he has worked really hard, and he taught me the value of hard work, and he worked me really hard. But he's been able to be a very successful businessman, and he has some assets that I'm sure he hopes to be able to pass on. I don't know if he wants to pass them on to me or somebody else or what, but he's worked hard and he's able to enjoy life right now. He's able to do a lot of fun things, and I love seeing that. My
parents said my inheritance is gone. They bought a Phaeton and they've been traveling since they hit retirement, so they have one of those humongous RVs. And my dad said, "Sorry, Don, but there goes your inheritance."
Yeah, spending it in gas money.
We're just having fun.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. We work so hard. We want to be able to do that. And one of the things that made me think about this today, in addition to what I talked about in the first segment, is I was reading an article this week, and the title of the article was, "My daughter has been chiding me for frivolously." I am tongue-tied today. Spending her inheritance. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
So, it's not your money, daughter. It's my money.
Well, my youngest she's not getting on to me for spending her money, but if you ask her, like I asked her if she wanted to go to New Orleans for her birthday this year, she's never been to New Orleans. And I thought, she's about to be 17. It'd be a cute trip to go for her 17th birthday. And she said, "We're supposed to be saving money, aren't we?" And that's not her getting on to me, but she's been that way since she was a little kid. She's always thought, "Oh no, that's too expensive. We're not doing that."
Well, that's a good thing to have. At least your kid's not wanting you just to blow money on her. But this article was kind of different. It wasn't, "Are we saving money?" This one was, "What are we doing?" The daughter saying, "Whoa. I'm not wanting you to, save money just because. I want you to spend money on me."
Right.
So the article was the mom, they had a mixed family. They were spending some money on one of their other kids who wasn't quite as successful, but were helping pay for their grandkids to go to basketball camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then another kid of theirs was disabled and had become disabled, lost the ability to perform his job and had to take a lower paying job. So she was helping her other kid out. And this other daughter comes in and says, "Well,
what about me?
Yeah, what about me? Why are you paying for basketball camps and helping your other son? You're spending my inheritance now." So we're going to get a little bit into that. Should your kids be trying to get you to do that or not? So catch us on the other side of the break. All right.
Was that better?
I think so. I'll tell you what, guys, I completely missed that, starting that one up. So, it's this board just confuses me every time I come in.
That board is fascinating to people who have seen boards, and so for people who are not used to it, it can be a handful.
There's a lot of lights on here and a lot of buttons.
It's not like a runway.
It looks like it is. Red lights, white lights, blue lights.
Do you need somebody standing on the other side with a couple of things?
Yeah, maybe
you?
so. Yeah, get the big deals. Yeah. You never know. I just need help sometimes. Everybody out there in Facebook world that knows me knows that sometimes Ben just needs a lot of help. So I appreciate Dawn coming in and trying to take care of me today.
Did he really? Are you going to talk about this?
No, I'm not going to talk about Richard Sherman. but I am going to talk about some other rich folks. We're going to talk a little bit about Sting, Gordon Ramsay.
I've read that about Gordon Ramsay.
Great chef. Bill Gates. Everybody may have heard of Bill Gates. He's
that one guy.
Yeah. What?
The one guy.
The
computer guy.
Yeah, you know that guy. He's done something with computers. There's another guy who invests some money.
Run and grab water.
Warren Buffett.
You have some?
Yeah, I've got some. Thanks.
I'll be right back.
And a guy named Mark Zuckerberg, who has he's created a little something called Facebook, which we're on today. What you're listening on, and he's been pretty successful as well. So we're going to talk about that. What do they think about how they're going to provide an inheritance to their kiddos, and what are they going to provide? And you might be surprised what they're going to do, what they're not going to do. But we're going to get into that a little bit, and it's important that we think about what we want to do with life, how we want to live life. Do you want to travel? Do you want to make sure your grandkids have their education paid for, your kids have their education paid for? What do you want to do? It's your money. It's something you've worked hard for. So what do you want to do with it? And that's your right to figure that out and take care of that and make your own decisions on that front. And I think a lot of people just don't think that's something that they really get to do on their own. But you're certainly going to get to do that. That's a decision you have that you get to make. So stick around with us. Hang in there. I know it may be a little rocky today with me by myself in here. You may get tired of hearing my voice the whole time, but we're gonna make it work. We got a couple of segments left, and help you out with your estate planning. Give you some ideas as to, on that, how to help you reach the goals that you want to reach. Let's see here. I think that's going to be it. The next two segments, talking about some very wealthy people that have been able to accumulate a lot of wealth through their hard work and their efforts and what they intend to do with their funds and whatnot. So we got a couple more minutes before we come back, about a minute and a half. We're going to be back live on the radio then. So we're going to talk about, I think I said earlier, let's see here, Sting. Everybody knows who Sting is, not the wrestler. Gordon Ramsay, great chef, a very outspoken chef. He pretty much just says what he has on his mind, or maybe that may be his television persona. But I think in his estate planning, some of the stuff we're going to get into, you'll realize that's kind of how he is in life as well. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, some very successful people, some very interesting estate plans.
He just said,
so,
I wonder how much he would charge.
Oh, well.
She heard you talking about
you
all
never
the
know.
things in the hallway. She was listening to you in the break room.
All right. Well, love people listening to us. Hope there's some good folks out there on Facebook Live listening to us, out here on the radio listening to us. So we've got about 17 seconds and we're going back live. So thanks for sticking around on Facebook, and hopefully folks are still listening in on the radio today. So let's see how good we can do this segment.
They're waiting to see if you accidentally cuss. That's what they're doing.
They're
waiting to see if you accidentally cuss. That's what they're doing.
Oh, no, we're not going to do that.
1071. Now back to Aging Insight with John and Lisa.
Hey, welcome back to Aging Insight Radio. This is Ben King, and I have Dawn Parker in here today, who is the wonderful expert of all things radio, making sure that I don't mess something
I'm
up.
making sure you don't spill anything on that extremely expensive.
Yeah, I've got all my water to the side. I've got I'm trying to keep my hands off. I kind of feel like Ricky Bobby.
Like, what do I do with my hands?
Don't know what to do with my hands. I know one thing to do with it is not to touch the board more than I have to. So, what we've been talking about today is, what do you want to do in your retirement? How do you plan for that? What are some things you need to keep in mind? What are your goals?
Realistic goals. goals.
Realistic goals.
I keep getting that thing showing up on my, you know, when you click on your browser now, it gives you all these things, all these articles you could read. And one of them keeps showing up like how these people retired at the age of 30. And I'm like, well, I'm past that point, so can't do that.
Me too. Not going to be retiring anytime soon, I don't think. But let's talk about some folks that have done very well, and they continue to do very well, and haven't necessarily retired. But to be honest with you, if I had accumulated this much, I might have retired a long time ago. But you know, this kind of goes along with what we were talking about earlier. When we left, the last thing we were talking about before we left the last segment was an article that I read this week where a person, a mom of a blended family, was saying, one of my daughters is chiding me, getting on to me, getting really mad. And we've had some really heated discussions about how I'm spending my money and how I'm spending her inheritance, and she doesn't like the choices that I make. And, you know, to that I say, well, to heck with it. This is my money. I've worked hard for it. I get to do what I want to with it. And that's not really the case. That's not what her thought process was. So the mom was spending this money on one of her other kids, one of her grandkids, to go to basketball camp. One of her children who had become disabled and was no longer able to work in his job, had to go get another job that did not pay quite as much, and was trying to help him get through life to pay some bills. And daughter number 3 comes in and says, I don't like it. You're spending my inheritance. Stop enabling them. And the daughter was sitting here saying, well, I don't know, or the mom was saying, I don't know what to do. I've had these knockdown, drag out discussions, and what do I do? And I think the answer is just to say, you know what? My money, my choices, not your problem.
No, I think I would say something along the lines of that. Plus, you know, wait till you have your own children. Then you can make decisions on how you're going to spend your money regarding your children.
That's exactly right. You know, you really don't necessarily understand the love that you have, the desire that you have. And you know what? Even if she wasn't spending the money on her own children, and she also said in the article she wanted to do some traveling and enjoy life, even if that's what she was doing, and just spending it all on herself.
It's her money.
It's her money.
Yeah, I couldn't get on to my parents for saying, sorry, you have no inheritance left. We went and bought a Phaeton and we're going to travel.
Yeah, that's
their money.
Okay. You ever heard of Sting?
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. Yeah.
You know how much he's worth?
No.
$300 million.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. That's
I thought
all.
it would be way more than that.
Maybe so, but that's, you know, I think I could probably figure out how to live off that.
I could live, small. It'd be rough.
Yeah, it'd be tough. Now, what we're going to talk about are some folks that have accumulated a lot of wealth. So we've got to keep things in perspective. Okay, we've got to realize, all right, they are making these passing these assets on to their kids, but it's going to be a little bit different than what probably most people not probably, definitely more than most people out there would ever dream of receiving. But when you look at it from a percentage of total wealth, the inheritance that they're passing on is very minimal, except we're going to talk about Gordon Ramsay. And let me tell you something, this guy, he's serious about it. But Sting, he has said that his kids aren't going to receive just a whole lot. And one of the things that he said, this makes a lot of sense. He says, I certainly don't want to leave them trust funds that are albatrosses around their necks. They have to work. All my kids know that, and they rarely ask me for anything, which I really respect and appreciate. And he just wants to put a work ethic in his kids. I mean, he could certainly take care of them and provide them with a lifestyle that they would never have to work again. But he's chosen to do something different.
Well, I asked my kids a while back if we won the lottery. I think it was at 200 or 300 million at that point, what they would want. This was a couple years ago, and I had one son who said he wanted his own wing of the castle and Wi-Fi and a refrigerator, and one that said he wanted a weekly allowance of $1,000 a week. And I was like, only 1,000.
Yeah,
just
that's it.
That's it.
That's all you're asking for?
The other one, he wants a roof over his head and Wi-Fi. This one, he's like, I'll just go spend the money on what I want.
Yeah.
And of course, the youngest, she was like, well, whatever we can do, Mom, it's up to you.
This is your frugal one. That's so sweet. Well, let's talk about Gordon Ramsay, because Gordon Ramsay kind of has an interesting approach to life. He has a value of $190 million.
Wow. I thought it would be more. But then again, he gets free food, doesn't he?
I think so. Or he at least doesn't have to pay for a chef to cook his food.
Right.
Don't know how much he has to pay for the duck that he may cook up, but he can cook it up himself. But the interesting thing about Gordon Ramsay, when he flies, you think he flies first class or coach?
He probably flies first class. Does he have his own jet?
I don't know. At least the article I read didn't lead me to believe that, but he flies first class, and he's got some kiddos. You know where he puts them?
He has four kids, doesn't he? He's got like 4 kids.
Yeah, I think he just had another one, a fourth one. He doesn't put them down in the luggage compartment.
Oh.
He doesn't do that, but he sends them back to coach. They close that curtain on first class. He's sitting up there, and they're back in coach. And he was in an article I read. He said, I don't want them sitting up in first class. They haven't worked anywhere to earn that. So at that size, at that age, they don't need to be up here. I want to sleep. I want to rest. So they're back in coach.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I think his oldest is in college, and she gets $100 a week, or whatever the European equivalent is, something like that. She gets $100 a week to pay for her expenses in college. His other younger kids, they get, I think, $25 or $50 a week. But out of all that, they don't pay for anything. They've got to cover their own cell phones. They've got to cover their own bus fare, however they're going to get around at college or whatnot. That's all they get.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he's
My
worth it.
kids and Gordon Ramsay's kids are on a similar budget.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
That's amazing.
But that was certainly a larger percentage of my budget, but a small, minuscule portion of Gordon Ramsay's budget. But the interesting thing is, what is he going to leave behind? So he keeps them on a budget right now, makes them, be frugal with life.
The knife set.
Yeah, I don't know. He may not be giving that to anybody either. So he is going to leave for them, their entire inheritance is going to be a 25% down payment on an apartment or house that they want. And I don't know if he's capped, what that might be, but he's going to give them a down payment on a house. And then out of that $190 million, that's what they get. And for the rest of their life, they are on their own, making their own path and working hard to get.
And I can see him yelling at them if they say,
Yeah.
You can see him yelling at them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you know what I did to get here?
Exactly. Yeah. It wouldn't be nice. Bill Gates. You've heard of Bill Gates before?
Yeah, that one guy.
Yeah. I think he's helped do all this stuff, this technology we have in front of us right now. He's worth just under $100 billion with a B, $1 billion. And he is going to leave. Now, let's keep things in perspective here. Okay. He's only, quote unquote, only going to leave each of his kids $10 million.
Only.
Yeah. Now, I could certainly be all right with that.
But when he's going to adopt anybody?
I don't know if he's adopted anybody anymore. But when you look at that in the context of a person who's worth $100 billion and he's leaving his kids $10 million, then that's not really a whole lot percentage wise. So you got to keep it in perspective, but obviously he wants his kids, working hard and doing things, and everything else he's leaving to charity after that. So, he's certainly enjoying his life right now, and his kids are enjoying it, but not as much as they could otherwise. Yep, that break kind of hit me quickly too. So, radio folks, if you're not listening out there, but I missed you. Sorry. Didn't give you a good lead out like I had really wanted to. But anyway, so isn't that crazy? Okay, let's keep everything in perspective. Like I said, $10 million I'd be all right with. That'd be fine. But looking at that, like I said, in the whole perspective of things, that's not really just a whole lot percentage wise. But I have a feeling most everybody in Facebook land listening to me right now, and those that are listening on the radio would be just fine with a $10 million inheritance. But what about Gordon Ramsay? I mean, that's crazy. I don't have a problem with it, but
No, I think it's great.
Yeah, but I mean, you talk about a minuscule portion of his of his
Besides,
estate.
you'll get more sleep that way if your kids are in a different section of the plane.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that might have been one of the quotes that he had. I can't remember, something about wanting to sleep better and doesn't have to worry about them.
You don't have to share the bathroom with them.
No,
you have
not
to
at all.
share the bathroom with all those other people.
Yeah, and you get to eat. I wonder what Gordon Ramsay thinks about airplane food.
You probably don't want to know what.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. He would probably yell at somebody who's serving it to him or whatnot. But and then you got Bill Gates, like we talked about.
My kids didn't have cell phones until 14, and they didn't get smartphones until they were 16.
Huh?
They got flip phones until then.
Yeah, well, and that's what Bill Gates said. His kids didn't have cell phones until age 14.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if we're going to talk about. We might talk about Warren Buffett. Because everybody, Warren Buffett makes a good bit of money. He's worth $65 billion. Now he set his kids up a little bit better, but I think there's some restrictions on what they can spend their money on. But lots of folks out there. These folks have a lot of money. They're certainly deciding what they're going to do with it. They're not enabling their kids. And a lot of people may not think that it's enabling. They may want to pass it along. That's certainly fine. You do what you want to do with it, and not necessarily enabling anybody to do whatever. But
to live in their own wing of the castle.
Yeah, that's right. Live in their own wing of the castle. With Wi-Fi. And the refrigerator. Don't forget. Did he want it stocked with something? No, just the refrigerator. Okay. Well, that works too.
He was going to stock it. He just wanted that.
Yeah. There you go. All right, we're going to come back in. I'm not going to miss this one, I hope. We're coming back in about 17 seconds. So let's see what we got.
And AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need.
Almost there.
Complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving.
Y'all stick around. Last segment. Here we go.
Announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Have a question? Phone 903-793-1071.
I'm going to push the right buttons.
Back to Aging Insight with John and Lisa.
Hey, welcome back to Aging Insight Radio. Everybody out there in Radio Land, sorry that I ended that last segment so quickly. Once again, time just flew by, and I missed it. So, but you got to hear me. We were talking about Bill Gates and Sting and Gordon Ramsay. One thing I want to pick up before we finish this last segment is I want to talk about what Bill Gates said, what his view on why he's not passing on a much greater inheritance to his kids than what he is. And what he said was that he and his wife, they want to strike a balance where his kids have the freedom to do anything they want, but not so much money showered on them that they could go out and do nothing. Now,
wow,
he was going to give them $10 million each. So, again, keep that in perspective. But guess when you're used to that lifestyle, maybe you want to turn that $10 million into a whole lot more.
Isn't he sort of? Have you ever watched the Netflix show about him?
I don't think so.
Inside Bill Gates' brain.
I have not.
You have to watch that. It's pretty interesting. Actually gives you an insight to how he functions every day.
Okay.
And his brain is fascinating. It's very fascinating.
Well,
how he puts two and two together compared to how the rest of us put two and two together. I mean, it's fascinating to see his thought process alone. So I'm sure that 10 million wasn't just some random number he came up with. He probably came up with that because at some point in his life, when he hit 10 million, I wonder what he was doing.
Who knows? Sometimes when I put two and two together, I come up with 3 or 5 or
right
22.
But not 10 million.
Not 10 million. No. Just trying to scrape together that 2 and 2 to put together. So we've got these things. We've got folks here. We've just given a few interesting examples of super rich people that have given a small portion of their inheritance to their kids. Most people out there, this is not a problem they have to think about, at least with how do I deal with that much money, but they may have to think about things. And a lot of times, I think people's concerns when they're trying to figure out how to divvy up their estate, who am I going to give to what, and how much money am I going to spend while I'm alive? Unfortunately, money does crazy things to people.
Mm-hmm.
It makes, everybody, we have so many families come in and they'll say, oh no, we all get along. Everything's going to be great. And that sounds good now, but the money isn't on the table yet.
Right.
And one thing you've got to prepare for in all of your planning, what you need to prepare for is what you don't want to happen. If everything happened the way we wanted it to, then you would need no estate planning. You wouldn't need to think about your future really, because everything would just happen, just like you wanted to. But we've got to plan for what we don't want to happen. We got to plan for the unexpected. And so many people worry about, how am I going to pay for my health care? Or their kids get greedy and come in and say, you know what, if you don't start giving me some money now, if you don't take care of me now, I ain't taking care of you in the future.
That's why we had 5 kids. We figured out at 5, one of them would probably take care.
Yeah, well, I've got 3, and I'm hoping that, right now I think all 3 of them would, but they're 13, 10, and
You haven't
9.
hit that teenage.
Yeah, they don't hate me
Stretch
yet.
yet.
Yeah, they still think I'm kind of cool right now. Well, not cool, but they love me. I do embarrass them sometimes with my Fortnite dancing that I try to do in public.
Please don't do that. Not on Facebook Live.
Nah, I'm not going to do it. I'll do it for the radio listeners because they wouldn't get to see it. But the things you need to plan for. So if you're worried about your future, and then if you're worried about your kids, getting greedy and, threatening you with all sorts of mean stuff because they get money hungry or whatnot, what are you going to do? How are we going to plan for things? So what are some things we need to plan for? You certainly need to make sure that you have thought through things and know how much money am I going to need in the future. If I'm going to live X number of years, how much money do I need to do that? And then how am I going to get there? What do I need to put in place? And as part of that process, you have to think about healthcare costs. Healthcare costs are probably never going to go down. They're always going to go up. Costs of everything in general is going to go up. Groceries, gas, cars, you name it. Everything is going to go up. So you got to keep those things in mind. And you may want to keep, you want to keep tax consequences in mind of your estate. What tax brackets are you in now? What tax brackets will you be in the future? So how do you plan for all of those things? And those are things that you need to keep in mind. But the most important thing is, how do you ensure that your care is going to be taken for? Because you want to be able to enjoy life. You want to be able to travel and whatnot. You don't need to get silly with it, because you do want to make sure that as you do get older, and if you do become in poor health, how is your health care going to be paid for? And there's some things that can be done to ensure that happens, particularly, when it comes to your estate. You can create some trust mechanisms that you can do, other mechanisms where you can make sure that whatever it is that you have now, you can secure it in a place that when you have healthcare needs, or when you pass away and your spouse has healthcare needs, that money can be used for your benefit. Because the worst thing that can happen is, and this is something we always talk about, when you are alive but you become incapacitated, what's the plan? Who's making decisions for you? And you want to make sure that those funds are set aside for your benefit, that you have to be the one that's considered first when it comes to how those funds are used. That way, if you are in a long-term care facility, your kids buy you a TV so you can watch the football games. They buy you a recliner, that your health insurance is paid for, whatever it is that you need, you've got that money there. Mm-hmm. And so many times people don't plan for that. I'm alive. But
a lot of people don't want to plan for it because it just seems like it's just overwhelming.
It can be. And it's just a bad topic to talk about. I tell folks, listen, the most important part of your life is when you are alive. And particularly if you are alive and incapacitated, because you want to do things. You want to make sure your kids are taken care of, most likely, or that you're able to give something to them, maybe you want to give a lot. But when you die, you're not going to care anymore.
That's my husband's theory. I'll be dead. No, I'm not going to care.
Yeah.
And I'd say, but that's not the right way you have to look at it.
No, we do want to think about that, because there are things that we can do to, even though we're dead, we're not going to care. But there are things that we can help you plan for ahead of time that take care of your kids in a really great way, that protect them from death, that from, when they pass away, from future disability. How do we ensure that they are able to receive all the care that they need, and that they're not kicked off any disability benefits that they may be receiving. So there are ways that we can, if you have decided to pass something on to your kids, things we can do to help them. Because you're not necessarily going to care, but you always want to take care of your kids.
And you don't want to get to the end and then have to think that your kids are standing there arguing and fighting with each other and not talking to each other, because they do have to make those decisions that you didn't make.
That's right. And if you have made the decision that you're going to pass assets on to your kids, you want them to be taken care of. You don't want the government to come in and get it. You don't want your kid to maybe go through a divorce and then the divorcing spouse ends up getting half of it. It can happen, but we can protect that too. Or if your child passes away and you want that money to go then to your grandkids, well, what happens if your daughter passes away and now your son-in-law shows up to her funeral with the new girlfriend and her 3 kids? Where do you think your money's going to go? May not all go to your grandkids like you want, and that's going to be split up a lot more.
I'll be going. Maybe calling some police.
Yeah, you're like, hey, this ain't right. This isn't what I planned for. So that's why you need a plan for it. How do you protect those beneficiaries? If you are going to leave them something behind, you want to make sure that it's protected, right? And like I said, there are things that can be done on the front end to take care of that. And if you want to give it all to a charity, there are some ways that you can ultimately give the majority of your estate to a charity, but also be able to provide a little bit for your kids along the way. If you
That's
want
what Mark Zuckerberg said he's doing.
Yeah. So he's given like 99% of his stock to a charitable organization, and we can set up some charitable trusts that you can, it'll provide great tax benefits for your beneficiaries, but you can continue to provide a monthly allowance, if you will, to your kid, and then maybe a monthly allowance to your grandkids, so that they're not given everything right off the bat, but you can kind of dole it out to them a little bit at a time. And then once your kids and grandkids have passed away, then all the money that you did have can then go to a charity. So you know that ultimately it's going to good. Your kids haven't just received a big lump sum of funds and then are left with the opportunity to just blow through it as quickly as you can.
As fast as possible.
You hear about people who win the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
They how many of them become bankrupt in such a short period of time? You don't want to set your kids up for failure like that. And I think that's what a lot of Bill Gates and the Warren Buffetts and the Gordon Ramsays, they want to make sure that their kids continue to have a work ethic. They don't just stop working. So a lot of great things, that can be done, that can be planned for. But if you don't want your kids to get anything, then live it up.
Live it up.
Have a great life.
Go buy an RV.
Yeah, go buy the RV, spend your money on gas, travel the world. But it's your money.
My parents aren't listening right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Get a phone call in a minute.
It's your money. Enjoy your life. Enjoy what you worked hard for. But if you do want to leave some stuff behind for your kids, there are ways that you can do that you don't just do it in a way that has completely spoiled them, that sets them up for failure, or takes away any work ethic or motivation they have to be a contributing member of society. So just some things to keep in mind, and particularly if you got some kids that are heckling you for spending up their inheritance. But hey, I appreciate everybody listening today. Y'all be sure and help out our sponsors if you have that opportunity. And we hope to catch you next Saturday on Aging Insight.
For his general advice, it does not create an attorney-client.
Are we still? No, that's the show. End of show
I want to
disclaimer.
see if it rolls out like it's supposed to.
Here we go. We're going.
No. Nope. It did it. Perfect.
Good. All right. So, Dawn, thank you so much for coming in today. We are able to knock it out. And, I think the viewers here on Facebook and the radio probably appreciate the fact they didn't just have to listen to me the whole time. So, hey, appreciate you listening in on Facebook. If you have any questions about anything we discussed today, feel free to call up to our office, 903-223-5653. We'll be happy to visit with you, help you out, discuss what your plans are, help you try to meet your goals. So thank you very much for listening. We'll catch you next week on Aging Insight.